about, other than it's a hand-carved wooden container.
Wow.
It's just neat. We thought it fit with this display, but we don't have any history about it. But the rest of this material is all related to the spiritualist movement of the 19th century, which tied really, really heavily into Victorian mourning culture. It was born out of a desire to reject old Calvinist doctrine. So during the 18th century especially, it was a lot of Christian sects believed that when you're born, your afterlife is already decided. You have nothing you do in life actually matters. And understandably, at the turn of the 19th century, there were a lot of people who felt very discomforted by a doctrine like that. Yeah. So they were looking for different reform opportunities. There were a few early movements that never quite grew to the same proportion. Those included the Mesmerists. That's where we get the concept of mesmerism from, as well as the Swedenborgian Church. I don't know if anybody's heard of that. The Swedenborgians come out of the Netherlands. They're a group of Christians who believed that you don't go to a specific afterlife after you died. Your spirit just continued to roam and learn and grow, essentially. I'd say the most well-known person in the United States who was ever involved with the Swedenborgian Church was a man named John Chapman, also known as Johnny Appleseed.
Oh, yeah.
So he literally spread both apple trees and the Swedenborgian religion as he traveled west, because he started multiple churches as he went.
I heard he was an eccentric character.
Yep.
Wore pots and pans on his head.
Right. He's an odd duck.
Yes.
I think you have to be
to
do what he was doing. But, so neither of those other movements really gained too much steam, but the spiritualist movement kind of picked up some of the best elements of each one and developed this idea that, like what the Swedenborgians thought, spirits continue to grow after you pass away, and that spirits essentially are not bound by time. So after you pass, you can go anywhere at any time and learn what you want. They also believed that there were certain people with an innate ability to communicate with spirits, which became known as spirit mediums.
Right.
Arguably the most popular, or not most well-known spirit mediums are three young women known as the Fox sisters. They lived in Rochester, New York, and in 1849 they released a statement to the public basically saying that they had communicated with the soul of a man who had been murdered years before and who was buried in the basement of the house they were renting. They claimed that they could commune with him and convince the spirit to respond to them through a series of what were called spirit raps. Essentially, they would ask a question, it'd be one rap for yes, like that, two raps for no, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
They took the country by storm. Within 2 weeks of them publishing this, they had hundreds of people mobbing their house trying to come in to hear the rapping sounds. Within a few months of that, they were doing public performances in New York City. Now, over the course of the Fox sisters' roughly 40-year career, they changed their story about 3 different times. And each of those different times actually correlates to a period in time where they were having financial difficulties. So we know on multiple occasions reporters approached them, offered them a substantial amount of money for a very specific story. Yeah. So, for example, in the 1880s, I believe it was Margaret Fox, basically recanted the entire story and said it was a hoax because she was paid a very large amount of money to say so. Yeah. And then a few years later, she took that story back. So it's really hard to say what the truth actually is.
Right.
But they spawned an entire movement of spirit mediums all across the country. We even have, Ohio has a spirit medium that's known nationally. His name was Jonathan Coons. He was down in Athens County. He built a spirit lodge out in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains where he would invite people to come for seances. Yeah. He was known as far west as Louisiana and had people coming all the way from England to come for readings. Wow. Which, think about, it's 1850 and you're traveling all the way from New Orleans to some random little cabin in the middle of nowhere in the Appalachian foothills just so you can have this experience. It tells you how strongly people really felt about it.
Yeah, how badly they wanted to know or needed to know.
That too.
Yeah.
Last thing to point out on spiritualism, just for the sake of time, of course, there were a lot of people who did realistically and truly believe in what they were talking about. There were, of course, a lot of con artists around in that time. So there were a number of books published by skeptics and believers alike that were intended to kind of warn you away from the fraudulent methods that con artists would use. And this is one of those books.
Oh.
So this is specifically an expose about a type of mediumship called slate writing. Essentially, it's the idea that a spirit could be channeled into an ordinary, student's chalkboard slate and write messages for their spirit medium. Now, one of the things that I do professionally is I recreate different historical events and activities. For example, my most popular show, I actually run a 19th century flea circus. I basically have deconstructed a period flea circus and rebuilt one using modern methods. I also do 19th century seances, utilizing the techniques that con artists would use, and I do it in an educational format. So I've done slate writing before, and I know exactly how at least some of the methods work. And they can be pretty convincing. So the method that I primarily use it's a little bit more of it's more sleight of hand than it is anything else.
Like a magician.
Yes. So what I'll usually do is I'll have two different slates. I will start off by writing a message already on one of those slates, and then I will take a very thin piece of black paper and cover over top of it. Then when I'm showing those slates off to the audience, as long as I keep my fingers pinched on the paper, I can show both sides of that slate off without accidentally revealing my message.
Okay.
When I'm done, I put the slates together, I put them down on a table, and I walk away. I give it a little bit of time. When I come back and I pick those slates up, I just have to turn them over. The paper falls from one slate to the other, and the message is revealed. It seems really simple when you explain it, but if you are a diehard believer, you're in a dark room, and you are very convinced by what's happening, it's very believable.
Yeah, you're in the moment, the ambiance, the atmosphere,
Absolutely.
all of that, and if you're really wanting to believe that you can communicate with your loved one.
Right.
And a lot of times you're more willing to believe.
Right. You can convince yourself of a whole lot of things if you want to.
Yeah.